How's it going, everyone? My name is Sinikle, and welcome back to yet another Higurashi When They Cry. So let's go ahead and continue from where we last left off.
お疲れさん。立たなくていい。楽にしてくれ。諸君に今日は素晴らしいプレゼントを持ってきたぞ。カノ、お前を息子の授業参観に行かせてやる。
The meeting room was filled with sighs, tinged with exasperation and resignation. It certainly wasn't because of any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day. That like career day.
そろそろ頃合いだと思ってたんですよ。くそ。
Akasaka's colleague complained. They had been so close to getting to the root of this issue. They had such strong evidence. Akasaka, at this, on his part, wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in the past, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. The new department was supposed to continue the investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above.
くそだね。俺たちが今日まで捜査してきたのは何のためだったんでしょうかね。
海を出す痛みがどの程度か測るためだろうな。その結果、痛みに耐えられない規模だということが分かり。
I never realized this, but holy shit, the voice over actor for Akasaka plays Bachelor and Umineko. Interesting. Never realized that until now. In that sense, their hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleague wasn't yet mature enough to understand. Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this. He felt frustrated with his superiors, who had hesitated to expose the truth. But he was mature enough to know not to say that out loud.
資料の整理と引き継ぎについては今後向こうと調整していく。とりあえずみんな長く休んでないだろう。5時を待たなくていいぞ。引き上げて体を休めてくれ。残務整理は明日話し合い、あと振り替え休暇の消化をしよう。ちゃんと消化して神さん孝行しろよ。主査は俺と来てくれ。以上だ。
Though his long, secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth with its resolution, he managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived.
じゃ、室長のお言葉に甘えますかね。みんな、今日は早く帰って休みな。
こういう時、早帰りすると不倫の現場に出くわしたりしちゃうんですよね。バカだな。お前知らないだろう。赤坂さんとこは熱愛夫婦だぞ。毎晩別当の公衆電話からラブコールかけてるの知らないのかよ。
赤坂んところはいいよな。うちの女房なんてそりゃそっけないもんだよ。
Akasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered the documents in his hands. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures of the Alphabet Project, the research team for the next generation of hardware in the Defense Agency. It was entirely possible that this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funneling these illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Akasaka's eye. He picked it up, looked at it, and tried to remember. It was a list of people who illegally received public funds. It was also a list of retirees who were still very much in love with money. There should have been no connection between those people and Akasaka. However, there was one thing that caught his attention. As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced. Yes, the Eerie Clinic. When he was working on the case of Minister Inukei's grandson's abduction, he got into a scuffle with the suspects and became injured. He was then taken to the local clinic. As he recalled, the name of that said clinic was the Eerie Clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burnt into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. His daughter was about to be born, and he really didn't want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Oishi-san, who taught him a lot of important things. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was... yes, Rika Furude. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? As he remembered her lovely smile, he also remembered the ominous prediction she made. She had predicted that if he didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time, he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he had remembered Yuki, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her. But he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told her something would happen. He told her to be very careful until he returned. Yuki had laughed and told him off that he was being paranoid. But that phone call indeed saved her from a calamity. Akasaka had found out about that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo. A few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterwards that Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day. But because of his phone call, she had stopped doing it. If he hadn't called her, she would have been the one to step on that loose tile. In other words, Rika Furude's prediction had been correct. There was no proof, but Akasaka still believed that he was able to save Yuki only because of Rika Furude's prediction. He'd intended to call and thank her for saving Yuki, but the busy days that followed put it out of his mind. Rika-chan. He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling. Akasaka remembered the sad prediction she made on that night under the moon, while she still wore that smile. That's right. She'd said something. She predicted someone might... No, sorry. She predicted someone would get killed on the night of the festival every year, and that on the 5th year in, she'd be the one to be killed. That's right, he thought. He did say that. The 5th year. That's this year. The festival is... that's right, it's in June. If he remembered correctly, it happens on the last Sunday of the month. Akasaka looked at the calendar. It was June 1983. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who'd predicted Yuki's accident also prophesied a mysterious incident would occur annually for the next 5 years. If they had actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Akasaka wondered if Oishi was still at the Okonomiya PD. If the annual incident she predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he could confirm if Rika Furude was going to be killed or not with a phone call to Oishi. The girl who predicted her own death had muttered that she didn't want to die. Muttered? No. It was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless, bizarre traditions of a village she couldn't escape from, had sought help from him, an outsider. He paid his reward in advance, in the form of foreseeing Yuki's accident. He had to get to her. He had to go save her. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he had finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go back to Hinamizawa. He had to save the girl who asked him for help.
はい、沖宮署でございます。
すみません。そちらの刑事課に現在も大石クラウド氏は在籍されておりますでしょうか。もしもいらっしゃったならお願いしたいのですが。
失礼ですが、どちら様でしょうか。
警視庁の赤坂とお伝えください。
Oishi was a very lively person, but he had been old even back then. Maybe he had already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he'd since retired. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh. He sure does.
おいさん、外線からお電話です。
Well, he's still around.
東京の警視庁からですよ。
東京？そりゃまた遠くからはるばるどちら様ですかね。はい、もしもし。え？こりゃ懐かしい。どうです？お元気にしてましたか？
Dude, you are so low. Fuck this shit. Alright, there you go. We just got done with Akasaka's stuff. I believe he's headed our way now, after talking to Oishi. Hanyū has already grown used to being around us. Since Rika-chan and Satoko are her age, she's become especially close with them. Of course, Rena and Mion are looking after her too. Rena told me something the other day Hanyū joined the class. She said that Hanyū has been close to us for a long time, and that she's been watching us play. The mic is a little bit too close to my face. There we go. Too close. Close and personal. Ooh, girl. What? That she always wanted to join us. I still can't remember seeing her before, but somehow I can believe it. Hanyū has accepted all the things that surprised me at first, as if she knew about them all along. She knows everything about us, and it seems she's truly excited about finally being able to join in.
羽生もすっかり僕たちの仲間に溶け込みましたのです。
だな。なんだかずっと前からそうだったように感じるよ。そんなはずはないのにな。
そんなことありませんです。ずっと僕たちのそばにいましたですよ。
あれ、リカちゃんもそんなこと言うんだな。レナも言ってたよ。俺だけが気づいてなかったのかな。
ケイイチは鈍感だからきっと気づかなかったに違いないのです。
Dance as a motherfucker.
みー。
ち、どうせ俺は鈍感ですよだ。
Stop it! Stop it now!
リカとケイイチが座り込んでいますのです。疲れましたですか？羽生が疲れ知らずなだけなのです。僕たちは遊びすぎてヘトヘトなのですよ。だって僕はずっとみんなと一緒に遊びたかったから、これくらいでは遊び足りないのです。もっともっと遊びますですよ。はわわ
元気だな。ところで羽生さ、その頭のそれ遊んでて落ちちゃわないのか？ Hanyū
has horns on her head. I thought that it was a hair accessory of sorts, but I didn't want her to lose it while playing. I was going to offer to hold it for her while she ran around. But Hanyū's face clouded over, and she apologetically held onto the horns.
ケイチ、羽生のは取れませんのです。
あ、そうなのか？変なこと言ってごめん。
やっぱり角なんかがあるとおかしいでしょうか。おかしくなんかないよ。キュートでかいよ。そうそう。相変わらずレナさんのパンチだけは見切れませんわね。大丈夫ですのミオンさん。顔面がへこんでますわよ。
Everyone laughed except Hanyū, who didn't seem to get it. It's okay. It's okay. I shouldn't have said anything. I bet she doesn't like to talk about her horns. But if I try to apologize, I think things will get even more complicated. Probably. Maybe. Who knows? As I thought about what to say, Rena took the girls over to the shrine gate.
気にしなくていいのですよ、ケイチ。
Aww.
羽生も気にしないようにしているのですが、まだ修行が足りないということなのです。
やっぱ気にしてたんだな。すまん。これからは気をつけるぜ。
羽生は大昔にこのひなみ沢にやってきました。
あ、やっぱりそうだったんだ。だよな。村の中のことを転校生にしちゃ随分詳しかったしな。
羽生がひなみ沢に住む前、どこに住んでいたのかはよく知りません。
I asked her once, but all she said was it was a place I wouldn't understand. Hanyū said that she, or rather Hanyū's people, couldn't live there anymore. They looked for a new place to live for a long time. They traveled a very long way before arriving in Hinamizawa. There was a beautiful swamp in the area, and that was exactly what Hanyū's people were looking for. But there was a village nearby where people lived. To show respect to the original inhabitants of the area was law among wandering people like Hanyū's. Her clan decided to live peacefully and coexist with the villagers. However, their attempts to coexist didn't go so well. The villagers were too childish and immature to accept these newcomers. They strongly rejected them and caused a terrible, tragic disaster. Hanyū said she took their form and descended upon this land in order to subdue the disaster. However, she just couldn't hide her horn. The forbidden ancient documents say that Hanyū descended into the Furude Shrine, appearing as she does today. It also states the following: Hanyū's people can't live anywhere other than this village. They can also only live by coexisting with the villagers. The Furude Shrine's priest once rejected them, claiming that coexistence was impossible if mixing with the wandering people's blood caused the villagers to become demons. Yep, that's how it goes, apparently. But the young heir of the Furude Shrine fell in love with Hanyū, and when their child was born, the priest had to reconsider. Forbidden love. The priest is talking here. Should I say their lines? Nah. Y'all can read, right? Yeah. It's not important. Okay. However, as the demon's blood mixed with the villagers, it became hard to tell who was human and who was a demon. The villagers began to cast a suspicion! Suspicion! Sussy sus! Suspicion on one another, haunted by that paranoia. Unless all of that was resolved, coexistence would be impossible. For you and us to coexist, we must lay down several laws for us to follow. They will be very strict. I am very, very sorry for imposing these upon you, who have lived in peace until now. However, as long as those rules are followed, the village will be free from demonic disaster. Very well, the rules will be followed. But much blood has already been shed in the village. The anger, the sins, the corruption people bear cannot be cleansed. The one law of the human world is that sins are atoned for with life. I see. If you say it's your way to let someone take on all responsibility and bury the sins with them, then we'll do that. However, wouldn't people end up pushing responsibility on each other because nobody wants to die? Exactly. That's the ugly demon in the world of man. No one will accept their own sin, but only foist them onto each other. Since they can only clear the balance with their lives, everyone refuses to pay, and the sins just keep adding up. Without cleansing them, they stagnate, and people cast them upon each other forever, doubting each other and passing them around. I see. If that is the unstoppable law of this world, and you yourselves are troubled by this law, then in exchange for coexisting with us, I shall grant you a world where people do not blame their sins on each other. What kind of world is it? So long as mankind exists, they will commit sins and give rise to corruption. How could all that be erased without foisting it onto someone else? Let me bear all the sins and corruption born from man, and purify my soul. Let all sins rest not with man. If they are born upon myself, then man will not need to force them on each other. What are you saying? Are you really going to make yourself into a sacrifice? Someone has to take on the sins, otherwise they won't be cleansed. And that's the law of your world, isn't it? Isn't it? A different ancient document also states the following. Of course, it's a forbidden one too. Only the head of the Furude family is allowed to read it. Nobody else, not even the other heads of the three families. It tells that unrest grew in people's minds, that the villagers' evil hearts collected in the swamp and gave rise to demons. The Furude Shrine's priest explained that the root of all evil is the demon god of the swamp, and led the young villagers there. By the swamp they found a demon mocking the unrest in people's hearts. The young villagers fought bravely, captured the demon, and dragged it to the Furude Shrine. The priest cleansed the demon god, opened her abdomen, and dragged out her organs. He chopped them up and washed them down the stream. Then threw the body in the swamp. Well, didn't do that. Then people regained their sanity. Those who had been suspicious of each other became friendly, and they all shared in the joy of peace again. If these forbidden ancient documents are real, then the object of the villagers' worship, Oyashiro-sama, was captured by the villagers, forced to bear all of their sins, and torn to death. Plus, it's clearly written that the demons appeared after unrest grew in people's hearts. In other words, the demons were forced to bear the sin of discord, that rested with man long before they arrived. Oyashiro-sama was a god who took on people's sins to mend conflicts between them. People eventually came to honor her, and it's said that became the foundation of faith in Oyashiro-sama. I don't understand exactly what that means, but I know one thing. When none of us humans would draw the losing straw, she offered to draw it in our stead. To prove it, we cleanse our filth by letting cotton absorb it and drift it down the stream during the Watanagashi festival. There's no shame or shifting of responsibility involved. Until that system was created, we were simply demons who pushed our filth and our responsibility on each other. We could only cleanse our own sins by blaming someone else and sacrificing him by cutting open his abdomen. And Hanyū took on that job. A purification ceremony without a human life. A system that forgives people for their sins. That is the origin of the cult of Oyashiro-sama, which blames not people for their sins but the curse. Those documents were sealed away. If they weren't, people would find out that the object of their own faith was falsely blamed and killed by their own ancestors. Hanyū apologizes. She takes in people's sins and keeps apologizing. When people can't deal with their own sins anymore, she accepts them. When Hanyū takes over, people are cleansed and they are allowed to keep living. Demons take on sins by becoming cotton to absorb them. They are exterminated and washed down the stream, and then the village is forgiven. They are forgiven for their sins. If that's all true, then Hanyū, or rather Oyashiro-sama, is such a tragic existence. I've asked Hanyū about this before. Then she told me the following story. 4 people are stuck in a snowy mountain cabin. They play a game where each sit in one of the 4 corners. It's a fairly well-known story. It's in the middle of winter. They're all getting sleepy. If they fall asleep, they'll die. But one of them comes up with an idea. They're sitting in the 4 corners of the room, so someone just has to walk clockwise to the next corner and wake up the person sitting in that corner. The one who just walked will sit in that corner, and the one who just woke up will get up, walk to the next corner, and wake up the person sitting in that corner. If they keep doing that, then nobody will fall asleep. People who know the story won't need an explanation, but this doesn't work with 4 people. When the first person gets up, their corner becomes empty. So after everyone takes turns, the 4th person goes to the next corner, which is an empty one. Oh yeah, true. They sit down and fall asleep, so the game is over right there, and everyone freezes to death. In other words, to play this game you need more than 4 people. You need 1 more person in order to be saved. People usually tell this as a ghost story. They usually say that this was actually a group of 5 people, but one was already dead, and thanks to that ghost, they are able to continue living until the next morning. Hanyū once told me that she's like that 5th person. If she can make everything run smoothly by joining a circle of people, then it's very similar to how the telephone game in the mountain cabin manages to function without breaking. Hanyū can complete a circle that can't be realized by some people. Then those people can live peacefully. She's an existence that completes a circle. Is she bothered by her horns because it reminds her of the time when she was called a demon and punished for the sins she took in? Is her subconscious still tormenting her with thoughts that those who have horns ought to be persecuted?
あの角は生まれつきです。それを忌み嫌われ、いじめられたこともありましたのです。
そうなんか？そりゃますます悪いことを言っちまったな。
そして羽生はその角があるがゆえに全ての罪を引き受け、生産するというとても大きなお役目を引き受け、全うし神と崇められたのです。
え？神？
僕の独り言なのです。忘れて大丈夫なのですよ。
Nobody knows who Hanyū really is. Is she really a divine existence that descended from a higher place? Or is she simply an unlucky girl who became a sacrifice just because she had a pair of horns? Nobody knows. But this girl's blood was blended with the Furude family's blood, and that blood has descended into me. Our legends state that if the Furude family has a girl for their firstborn child, for 8 generations in a row, that 8th child will be a reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm that 8th generation. Is that why I was the only person who could see Hanyū? 8 generations is a very long time. Maybe that's how long it took for all of the sins Hanyū assumed to be cleared. 8 represents infinity. It's a very lucky number. Often curses uttered will contain, "I'll curse you for 7 generations," but the 8th lies beyond that. In other words, 8 possesses such good fortune that it can forgive great curses and sins that spanned 7 generations. It's a number with power. It's the time Hanyū needed to cleanse all the sins she took in from the humans. Hanyū and her people simply wanted to coexist with us. But Hanyū had to become a sacrifice. Her stomach was cut open, and its contents washed down the stream. Then she was thrown into the swamp. And so, the Furude family has been waiting. They waited for a very long time for her to come back. They kept our traditions alive, waiting forever and ever for her to return. According to legend, the name Furude was made by adding a horn to the character for fortune teller. The Furude family rose when Hanyū's bloodline was combined with that of human beings. Hanyū is the ancestor of the Furude family, as well as the mother of us all. When I was little, Hanyū taught me a lot more things than my mother did. It's no wonder. I'm her descendant. The curse on the clan who exorcised and buried their very own mother was finally absolved after 8 generations, what seemed like eternity. And then she met me, her descendant, the final generation of the Furude family. Sometimes when I think about that, I feel like there must be some important meaning to this hapless fate thrust upon me. But what kind of meaning could the trial I face, the trial of breaking through the obstacle sealing my fate, have upon the curse that plagued Hanyū and the Furude family for over a millennium? 1,000 years is simply too long of a period to communicate thoughts and intentions correctly. Hanyū has become the curse we call Oyashiro-sama. Though she originally was a means of salvation, she has become a chain that binds people. The rules about coexisting were misinterpreted as a law that binds villagers to this place, and that continued until the Meiji era. And while the village winds once again blow toward the misunderstanding of isolation thanks to the dam conflict. How does that play into my meeting with Hanyū and this motley fate we are trapped in. I haven't lived long enough to be able to understand that. The only thing I can say for sure is that the Furude family originated when Hanyū's bloodline mixed with that of the humans, and the line's final descendant, me, finally met with its ancestor. The Furude bloodline bears a cursed history of placing all of man's sins onto its mother and killing her. Now the beginning and end of that line have met. Hanyū always wanted to join everyone, yet she couldn't hide her horns. Even so, she still wished to be an existence that completes a circle. It's a child's job to bury their parents. But mother, I've never heard that it's a child's job to kill and bury their parents. Don't ask, child. I'm not human. My horns are proof that I'm a demon. A demon's job is to take on the calamities of the human world. Bearing the calamities of this chaotic world and cleansing the unrest in mankind's hearts is my role. Then, mother, why do you have to be the one? People's sins are people's sins. They aren't yours. Listen, child. People live with their sins. They can't live without making someone else take the blame. Nobody wants to take the blame, so they shift that responsibility around. That is a demon, the true demon disrupting the world of man. By bearing it myself, man may be cleansed, and mankind can be freed from their destiny of doubt and conflict. Let all the sins, the filth, the karma, and the curse come to me. Then attack me, purify me, wash me down the stream, and throw me in the swamp. A human will not do, so it is the fate of one not human to accept that role. If a human were made to bear it, then mankind would not be freed from the demon of doubt. I don't understand. I don't understand, Mother. Mother, you have horns. Are you saying that you aren't human just because you have horns? That even if you are human, the horns make you non-human? Even if you have horns, you're human to me. My child, you're the only one who's ever said that. Even if everyone calls me blank or blank, you'll still call me human. What is passed down in the Furude's many forbidden scrolls, the ones unknown to even the heads of the three families, sealed in the altar in the shrine storage. Good question. Understanding that would probably require about as much time as I've spent repeating time. Yet once you understand that, perhaps you'll better understand the smile Hanyū wears as she innocently plays with everyone. I heard Mion yell in surprise. Something must have happened.
なんだどうしたんだ
羽生さんがそこでふざけてて転んで斜面を転げ落ちていったんですわ。
Welp.
羽生ちゃん
Well, that sucks for her, don't it?
大丈夫？綺麗に転がってったけど捻挫とかしてないかな行こう行こう。
Hanyū had been playing on the slope and tumbled down it. There's a road just below the slope. Whoops. Mion and the others went down the stairs to go get her. Let's go. I hope she isn't injured. When I got there, I saw Tamatake-san and Takano-san. That bitch. We know. They were taking care of her.
これはどういうことなんだい？急に彼女が転がり落ちてきてね。
She'd be playing too much.
ずいぶん綺麗に転がってきたわね。でも頭をゴチンとやってしまったみたいだから、後でコブになってしまうかもね。よく冷やしておいた方がいいわよ。
羽生、私たちの声が聞こえます？ほら、指は何本に見えますの？
She sounded disoriented, but didn't appear to be injured. What a relief for everyone. I bet she's just feeling dizzy from rolling.
でもよかったね。怪我がなくて。
いやはや。しかし、転がってった先に看護師さんがいてくれたなんてできすぎだね。
Yeah, you're telling me.
あら、非番の時の私は野鳥撮影家なのよ。ねえ、次郎さん。
まあね、そういうことさ。
まあ、Hinamizawaっ子なら、このくらいで怪我はできねえよな。羽生も、もう立派なHinamizawaの仲間ってことだぜ。
羽生ちゃんっていうの？見かけない子ね。新しいお友達？
ええ、そうですわよ。月曜日に転校してきたばかりなんですのよ。
これ、何？変わってるわね。おもちゃ？
Oh, the horns. Takano-san tried to poke at one of Hanyū's horns. They'd be an interesting hair accessory if they were an accessory. If they were an accessory.
それは羽生ちゃんのチャームポイントなので取っちゃダメなんです。
あら、そうなの？私はあまり可愛くないと思うんだけど。だってほら、化け物みたいじゃない？
What did this bitch just say to me? What did she just say to me? I don't think they're that cute though. After all, they look like just like a monster, don't they? Oh, you bitch! You bitch! Suddenly, Hanyū moaned as if suffocating.
高野、羽生は化け物じゃありませんです。二度と言ったら許さないのです。
Yeah, you tell her.
そうだよ。
Rip her head off.
人の趣味に悪いよ。
ごめんなさいね。決してそんなつもりはなかったんだけど。
Oh, we know that's a lie. Rika-chan said it rather firmly. I'm sure Hanyū doesn't want to hear that word. Sometimes Takano-san says things in a derogatory way without realizing it herself. But I guess there are things you can't or shouldn't say. Hanyū was looking at Takano-san with a complicated look on her face. Oh? Okay. After seeing that expression, Takano-san realized she might have hurt her feelings. She apologized and left with Tamitake-san. Yeah, that's right. Back up! Get the fuck out of here before I pound your ass! What?
羽生、綺麗に転げ落ちたから大して怪我はないそうです。リカ、今の人、今の人、高野ですよ。高野。
Hanyū repeated Takano's name. All of a sudden, I grew worried that she hit her head or something. Hanyū stood straight up and grabbed Rika-chan's collar.
リカ、高野です。高野。そうですよ。高野ですよ。違う、リカ。高野です。高野。
Why don't you actually form a sentence instead of just one word that's a name?
覚えてないのですか？
There you go.
知ってるわよ。
But not in front of everyone, you dipshit.
高野美代でしょ。
Ah.
入江診療所の。
Mm-hmm.
思い出せないのですか。ごめん、羽生。何の話。
Hmm?
リカ。そんな。
What? This is the last one. The last one. She finally imprinted herself with the true enemy's name while enduring the pain of her stomach being cut open. And yet she can't remember. Rika Furude has failed to inherit the memory of the fragments. Does that mean I fucked up? Please tell me I didn't fuck up. No! If I did, I'm gonna be very depressed. I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm gonna be crying in my sleep. Crying in the corner. Ah. Well. Unfortunately, we're ending the video here. But at least we got this to look forward to when we return in the next Higurashi video. So thank you all for watching. This was a blast. Good to see Hanyū. Good to see Rika and the others. Keiichi. Good to see Oishi-san. Unfortunately, we're ending it just as he has entered the scene. So yeah, hopefully you all stick around. If you did enjoy this video here, please leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because there will be more Higurashi as well as other series I'm going on at the same time soon. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of things right now. Slow paced, but hopefully you all enjoy it. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hopefully you all stick around. See you all next time. Bye bye.